everybody, and welcome to the first live coding session. So basically in these, it could be a number of things that I go over. Sometimes it'll be some free code camp projects. Other times it might just be a tutorial or something like that that I think is kind of cool or whatnot. But today, what I thought I'd do is start working through some of the free code camp code interview prep, and in particular the take-home projects. So today's is going to be showing the local weather, and I thought I'd do that in Flutter because I've been using that quite a bit lately and enjoy that. So if we look at the actual project, it's got a couple user stories that we have to do. One is that we can see the weather in the current location. You can see a different icon or whatnot depending on the weather. And then you can push a button to toggle between Fahrenheit and Celsius. So I guess we'll go ahead and get started. First thing I did, I just went ahead and made a basic Flutter project. With that, you can just do a Flutter create and then whatever you want the name to be. I just used show local weather, and then this gives you your basic Flutter project. So to start out, we're just going to get rid of all this and clean it out a little bit because we're not going to need it, and we'll get rid of the home page. Alright, so before we start doing any of the code and whatnot, it's probably a good idea to get some kind of idea about what we want it to look like. So since it's just a little project or whatever, we'll just use Paint, but typically I would use something like Adobe XD or whatnot. So we'll just go mobile for right now, I guess. So we'll start with the app bar. I guess we'll put kind of an icon right about here. Have our little toggle up at the top, I guess. So the toggle will be what switches us between Fahrenheit and Celsius. Location is just going to be the location that's actually that's displaying the information. We'll have a search box so we can pick a different location if we want to. let's see, above the, so if we have the weather, what do we want to know? Probably the temperature. What the weather's doing. I guess humidity. We'll just go with that for the time being, and if we need to move it at another time we can, or add more, that's fine. Let's see, so that's got our toggle, that'll have our different icon, and then later on we'll add the geolocation part, but for right now we'll just start and go with what we've got here where we can search for different locations. And I think that's pretty much it. So let's switch over now and start building some of this out. So we want to try and keep things organized. So under the lib, we'll make a new widgets folder. And then we'll also make a screen folder. So right now we're just going to have one screen. But in other apps, it'll be a little bit more complex, so I'm not going to do any more than that. We'll just call it weather.cart. And then we're going to be searching locations and displaying that information. So we're going to want to go ahead and make it a stateful widget. And then over in main, we'll want to use that as the home page. And then just to make sure this is all set up correct so far, we'll go ahead and see how it runs. So with Flutter, one of the nice things is that you can do web and mobile, so it works on iOS, Android, web. They're also doing some stuff so it'll work on like Mac and Windows and whatnot. So for all these, we're just going to do web and then see how that goes, because it's a little bit easier. You don't have to work with the emulators and everything. And this is what we're starting with. So we need to turn this into what's drawn out over here. So we're going to go ahead and close that. Alright, so the first thing we need to do is we're going to want to do a scaffold, so that'll give us the little app bar at the top. So the title is what displays in the center, so we want the actual location. So what we'll do is we'll just make a string. And then we're going to use that as the title. And then in order to get the toggle, we're going to add that to the actions, and actions is just an array of widgets. So for Flutter, the toggle, I think there's a toggle. Switch. And then for the value, we'll just keep it a bool. That's going to be the degree value. And we'll set it to 0 for the time being. And then it also needs an onChange. An onChange, we'll just set it to switch the value of what degree type we're viewing. Handle change, I think, takes a bool. And we'll see if there's, let's see what that looks like. And as we're editing the layout, I'll probably just keep this running since it's got the hot reload. So anytime we make changes and then save, it'll update the web in real time for us. So that way we don't have to wait for it to build and all that every time. Okay, so we've got the toggle that changes, but we don't really know what it's toggling. So we're going to do two things. One is we're going to take the debug banner off, set that to false, and then we're also going to add a small label next to the actions. Let's see here. false is Fahrenheit actually. So what this will do, this will switch or put the label of the toggle to the correct type of degree that we're looking at. And if we save that and take a look, okay, so that changes Fahrenheit and Celsius, but we need to center it. Alright, so now whenever we switch it, we'll see either Celsius or degrees or Fahrenheit. Alright, so the next thing we need to do is add our search box and the little button. So for that, we'll go ahead and add a row to the body of the scaffold. So the body is just everything that shows up underneath the title bar up here. Wrap it in a safe area, which just if you're on a phone or something like that, it makes sure, like if you have the little camera and stuff where the screen isn't displayed, it'll only display everything inside of the area that's not obscured. And then to get everything here, we need to think about not only the search box, but the weather icon and the temperatures and other details. So we'll just go ahead and make it a column. And then the first thing we'll do is add our search box, which that and the button will end up being a row. And then inside the row we'll have a text field. And then we'll have an icon button. Let's see. Doesn't like something. Alright, so I didn't like the text field, and I think that's because it has to have a size inside of a row, maybe. Yep. Okay, so we can type and then search. And if we look at it on mobile, let me get rid of this. Alright, so let's make the size a little bit bigger on the search box, and then for this we'll have main axis alignment and center it. Okay, there we go. So I've noticed a few times every now and then that the hot reload doesn't always work, so sometimes you gotta start it and restop it. Stop it and restart it, rather. Okay, let's see if we can take this back to mobile view. Okay, there we go. Alright, so before we can add the icon for the weather, I'm going to stop this real quick and we'll have to add a couple packages in. So a couple of the things that we can add, one is going to be a package for the icons, and then also to make requests to get what the weather actually is. So let's go ahead and add... For icons, we're just going to use the font awesome, because they've got a few different types of I think that's it. So Font Awesome has a few different weather icons that we can use for like rainy and sunny and stuff like that. So if we go to the Font Awesome site and then look at some of the icons, I think Font Awesome 5 is what we want. Yeah, so they got some stuff for like windy, smoggy, thunderstorms, sunny, all that kind of stuff. So we'll go ahead and use those. And in order to add that to our project, we have to go to the pubspec.yaml file here and then add that as a dependency. So if we look at installing, we just need to add Font Awesome Flutter to the dependencies here. And then the other one we need to make API calls is going to be the HTTP package. So we'll add that as well. And then if we save, VS Code automatically gets all the dependencies, and then we'll be able to use those inside of our project. Okay, and then when we actually use the icons, we need to import this font awesome flutter .dart. And then for right now, let's just add the icon underneath our text field. And I think, yeah, we need to do an FA icon instead of just an icon. And which one do we want to use? We'll just do Sunny for Cloud Sun just for a placeholder and see if it shows up. So we should have like a sun behind a cloud whenever this pulls up. All right, so we've got our little icon. So we're gonna want to make it a little bit bigger than that, I think. And then for our sizes, it just takes a double. Let's see what 20 looks like. Okay, so 200 might be a little too big. And then if we look at mobile, okay, so I'd say we probably need a little bit more space between the search bar and the icon, so we'll add a spacer there. You can do that with just like a size box, and then just put a height of maybe 100. Okay, and then underneath, if we look back at the design, we need temperature, humidity, and weather. So we'll just add text for those right now. a little bit of space between those. So another size box. Okay. Alright, so we've got the general layout for the time being. So now we need to actually make this search button do something. So for the icon button, on pressed, we'll make a new method called update location. And then whenever we hit this icon button, this update location method will be called, which what we're going to do in here is get the value that's in the text field right here and call the Open Weather API to get the location or the weather for that location. So what we need is on the where are we at? Okay, so on this text field, what we need to do is add a controller so that way we can get the text that's actually inside of it. We'll just call that application controller. Alright, so whenever we get whenever we hit the search, first thing we need to do is get the location or the value for that, which is going to be, let's see, search location is going to be our controller text, and that's just the text that's displayed on the screen or that they type in, and then we're going to want to do the API call, and then we're going to want to clear that data. So for right now, just to see if it's working, we'll do a print and that's just going to be, so doing the print search location should just tell us, hey, we actually have the text. And then to clear it, we will set state location controller dot text equals. We just set it to an empty string. We search, it clears it, and if we look at the outputs, or maybe the terminal, right here under debug console, we've got location test. And then if we do Springfield, then it's Springfield. So we're getting the text from there. So we'll go ahead and we need to look at actually calling the API to get the weather information. So we'll keep that kind of separate in its own area. We'll make a services folder. And then we'll do a weather API service. And basically what this is going to do is it's just going to hold all the methods that we need in order to actually get the weather. So how do we get the weather? We're going to go to Open Weather Map, and that's an API that we can use to get the weather in whatever location we want. So we want to go to the API docs, and we're going to get the current weather. So just to keep it simple, we'll just do city by name. So we need to call API.openWeatherMap data 2.5 weather q equals whatever city name is, and then our API key. I think I have an API key already. So what we'll do, just to try it out before we start coding anything, is we will try this in Postman, and we'll just go with, let's try Springfield. I don't know if it needs a state, let's see. So the city name, state code, so we'll go Springfield, Mo, US, and see how that works. And then for the API key, alright, so whenever we call that, we've got the weather, which is rain, which I don't think it's raining right now. But so we've got a temperature, humidity. Temperature doesn't look like it's in Celsius or Fahrenheit, so we'll probably have to convert that. It's got the sunrise, sunset. All right, so basically whenever we call this, this is what the data is going to look like when we get it back. So we need to start building some of this into the app now. So what I'll do is I'll just make a general request, and then the request, what that's going to do is going to handle any API calls we make. And then to do that, we'll need the HTTP package. So what the request is going to do is going to take three different things. It's going to take a URI, it's going to take a body if we need to post anything, and then it's going to take a method, which method would just be post, get, patch, and if you look in Postman, it's just these guys up here. For this in particular, we're just going to need a get. We're not going to worry about any of the other ones. So we're going to need to build out headers, which is just going to be application/JSON. We don't need to worry about a body. Okay, so we're going to use define a response, and then if we're doing a get method, we're going to set that equal to the HTTP get, and we will send the URI. Let's see what we can do without this for right now. Or if we need to add it back, we'll go ahead and do that. So whenever we get this, we need to decode the response. And to decode it or convert, we'll also need the Dart convert package. Okay, so we decode the body of the response, and then if we have a status code of 200, which means it was okay and it went through, we will set the data to JSON response.data. And if not, we'll set it to that. Okay, so to test this out, what we'll do is we'll just print out the response that we get, and then we're already returning data, so we'll do that in the weather.dart file. So in order to use this, we'll want to import the API service into our weather component. And then we were going to do the API call inside of getting the location. So we've got the location, we print that out. Now what we're going to do is we're going to try doing the API call. So we'll do weather API service.request. We don't have a body method, it's just going to be get. And the URI is going to be where did it go? Here it is. Alright, so we need to put the city name here, so it's going to be, we don't have the state in our text field, so we'll just do it with city name. And that's going to be our search location. API key. Right now I'm just going to hard code it for the time being. Typically I'd store that somewhere else and then keep it hidden so that way it's not exposed. But this should print out the location. It'll do the request. So when it does the request, it should print out what our response is, and then we'll see where we're at. I go here, Springfield. Looks like we got an error of some sort. Okay, so we've got the URL. Oh, there's no HTTP. That might be it. Also erase it, lock it all there, put this in a try catch. Alright, so it looks like we're having some issues with getting the data from the API. Alright, it looks like we're still having a little bit of an issue getting the the HTTP responses and API portions working, but we will pick up with that on the next round. So I'll try to get on these projects when I'm working on these. Not sure as far as like time frame on projects necessarily, but I'll try and keep it to something that can be done within 1 hour. And then if not, then wherever we leave off at this particular point, at the end of one, we'll pick up in that same spot on the next episode, show, stream, recording, whatever you want to call it. So when we pick back up, we'll resume with the API portion, getting the API response for the weather. And then once we get that, we'll start tying everything back in. With that, that's all I've got for now. I've got a few things that I got to get done today, but I will be back on later, probably streaming some WoW or something like that, doing some stuff on my Druid. So for right now, thanks for watching, and I will see you guys next time.